So when I was in Detroit last, I had some Polish pickle soup, which was new to me, and obviously I loved it. Yes, it has lots of pickles and pickle brine inside it. It's not just the garnish on top. The tartness is balanced by the richness, and I can't imagine a better cold weather dish. Certainly you could make it with store-bought meat stock, veggie stock, but I have an old raw chicken carcass in the freezer, so in it goes. No need to pre-thaw it. More of the recipes in Polish call for pork bones instead, like a few spare ribs maybe. You could do that. You could just buy some chicken wings. They make amazing stock. Get that more or less submerged in plain water, and if you have an old onion or carrot or something, you could throw that in there, but I wouldn't waste good veggies on this. Get that coming to a boil and cover. I'd cook that for basically as much time as I have, but I'd say an hour at the least. After it's softened a bit, I might break it into pieces just to open up some more surface area. No salt or anything at this stage. We have the salty pickles still coming. Disassemble your vegetables however you want, but lots of recipes call for grated vegetables, and I like that idea. Easy and quick cooking. I happen to have a leftover parsnip, which is like an herbaceous potato. It'll be nice, but use whatever vegetables you have. There's no consistency in the recipes that I've researched. I mean, they almost all use carrots. I've got 2 big grated carrots there. I generally only grate onion when I have to, because grating an onion is messy and it really makes you cry, so I'll just dice this the normal way, but this would be a good food processor meal if you have one. I happen to have some celery. It's tough to grate because it's floppy and the fibers are tough, into sticks and then cross-cut the sticks. That's a good base of aromatic vegetables. That stock is great now, but I'm in no rush, so I'll just dissolve some more lip-smacking collagen out of there. While I wait, let's check out the Polish language with Rosetta Stone, sponsor of this video. Get half off a lifetime subscription with my link in the description. That rhymes. Rosetta Stone can help you learn pretty much any of the world's major languages. There's Polish, my first stab at a Slavic language. This should be fun.
Dziewczynka.
Dziewczynka. That's your name for girl? That's so complicated. Despite all those insane letters, I'm finding this pretty easy because that's the magic of Rosetta Stone. You learn through hearing and speaking and reading and writing all at the same time, the way you learned your first language. It feels natural and intuitive because it is. We're evolved for this. My kid is learning Japanese with Rosetta Stone because he's getting super into early video game history, and I have all the languages. Get half off that lifetime deal with my link in the description. Instead of $2.99 for life, it's just $149.50. Hit my link. Thank you, Rosetta Stone. Anyway, this mass of leftover bones and skin has been simmering about 2 hours. When the bones break really easily, that's a sign you've extracted about all you can. I'll fish this out to a plate. You could strain it, but I'll just look around and make sure I didn't leave any big chunks behind. And you could wipe away any of that accumulated protein scum, but honestly, if you didn't, I don't think anyone would notice. In goes our first dose of vegetables. Overcooking is not a concern with any of these for soup, so that's why I'm putting them in first. Lots of recipes have you fry the vegetables in butter for a while before they go in the stock. I'm trying to make this a little simpler and lighter. I don't burn as many calories as a Polish farmer, and for soup, I generally prefer plain boiled vegetables anyway, super fresh and super clear. Potato, any kind would be fine as long as it's not rotten, but I think the American Yukon Gold potato is basically the perfect soup potato and possibly the perfect potato. It's 1 pound potato. I see no reason to peel a thick-skinned variety like this. Just lay some slices on the flat side so they don't rock back and forth, cut into big French fries, and cross-cut for cubes. The potatoes I think you can overcook to where they fall apart too much, so I generally try to put them in a little later. That way, when the potatoes are done, everything is done. Oh, I found a chicken bone. That's why you strain. Now would be a good time for some spices. I've got some bay leaves and juniper berries, both common in this. And more than a few Polish recipes I found called for dried marjoram, which I really like. It's like oregano, but different somehow. Cloves would be good, any of those pumpkin spices other than cinnamon. Some recipes use horseradish, which I think would be awesome. Now that this is cooled, I can feel there's still a lot of good meat on this carcass I can pick off. All I did months ago was shave off the breast meat for some video, and I ate the legs and the thighs, but once you boil the carcass soft, a lot more meat becomes accessible. No reason to not put it in. Add more water if you need it, but try to minimize to preserve your options for later. You can always add. Finally, the pickles. Any kind is fine, but I'd say try to get real lacto-fermented pickles, cucumbers fermented in brine. The cheaper kind they pickle in vinegar would be fine, but different and less authentic. Lactic acid just tastes different from the acid in vinegar. There's some garlic cloves in here, so absolutely I'm going to chop those up and put them in the soup. This container is 2 pounds, almost a kilo of pickles. You could use that much, but it might get real sour. I'm using half that, and I'm grating them as per many recipes because they don't soften very much when you cook them, so small pieces are good. The last one I'm keeping for garnish. In with the shreds, and the potatoes are already more than half done, which is good because the pickles are tart and acid strengthens pectin, which slows down the cooking of vegetables. That's why no brine yet, just the shreds. Too much acid in there and it'll feel like the potatoes will never soften. This last pickle I'm going to cube and keep raw for a crunchy garnish. Very optional if you don't love pickles as much as I do. So recipes from Polish immigrants in Detroit and Chicago and such almost all call for the same thickener, which is some really weird stuff. I've got like a cup of sour cream here, creme fraiche or yogurt would work too, and into that I'll mix in like half a cup of flour. Some recipes call for even more flour. Some loosen it up a little bit with water or pickle brine. I'll use the brine. That'll just make this easier to stir. You just stir until smooth. A few little lumps won't kill anyone. Let's check on those potatoes. After like 20 minutes, they're soft enough. Up to you if you want to remove the inedible spices or leave them in like an Indian mom. The juniper berries are soft now. You really don't have to take those out. Now I'll take off the heat, let the bubbling subside, and then start stirring in that sour cream and flour mixture. I might not want all of this, so I'm holding some back. You stir that in and the flour keeps the sour cream from curdling while the sour cream keeps the flour from clumping. It's pretty brilliant. I killed the heat just to lower the odds of any curdling or clumping and also to see what I'm doing a little easier, see how much I want to stir in. But you definitely want to bring this back up to a good simmer to make sure that flour is cooked and the starch gelatinizes. Look at that beautiful glossy texture you get. Thicken it as much as you want and then it's time to taste. Definitely going to want some pepper, and it needs a lot more salt, which I'm mostly going to provide with this pickle brine. I'll start with about a cup and then taste. I can tell I'm going to need more of that thickener now, and that's just fine. Make sure to boil it, though. I don't want any more sour, but I do want more salt, so I'll just do that instead of more brine. And I think that we're about done here. That's got to be at least 6 portions. Like anything starch thickened, it will thicken more as it cools in the bowl, so start with it a little looser than you want. At the table, I really want some crunchy raw bits of pickle for heterogeneity. Some fresh dill or parsley or something is nice if you have it, but it's not necessary. With the pickle cubes in there, you get a very intense hit of pickle flavor. Lauren is not the pickle enthusiast that I am, and without the raw garnish, she absolutely loved this nonetheless. Pickle soup is not as weird as it sounds, and will be in my autumn rotation henceforth.